Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're watching us from. This is Diplomacia, your number one journal on diplomacy and foreign relations. Diplomacia, bridging Africa and global diplomacy. If you're new on this channel, before we proceed on this key analysis of Xi Jinping visit to North Korea, kindly consider subscribing to our channel. So let me just take you down to what's pretty much happening. Chinese President Xi Jinping is visiting North Korea for the first time in nearly 7 years since he visited that country in 2019. What does this mean really for the global power play? The visit comes amid growing Russia-North Korea military cooperation and certainly stalled talks between the United States of America and North Korea on nuclear proliferations. The leader of the world's second largest superpower steps into North Korea soil for the first time in 7 years with grandiose royal welcome, red carpet, and a complete 21-gun salute with massive portraits towering over the cheering crowd in Kim Il-sung Square. Chinese President Xi Jinping touched down on June 8th for a high-stake 2-day state visit with Kim Jong-un, the North Korean leader. People really question, why now? Why the timing? We all know in a world of shifting alliances, with the Trump back in the White House, with the deepening Russia-North Korea military ties and rising tension across East Asia, this isn't just a diplomacy visit. If you ask me, this is a strategic calibration. Today on Diplomacia, we break it down, every single details and the context for you, and what this really means for the balance of power. So stay with us. So to speak, this is Xi Jinping's second state visit to North Korea. His first visit was in June 2019, just before COVID-19 pandemic closed the borders, if you can remember. The two leaders last met in Beijing as well in September of 2025. This is when North Korean leader President Kim attended China's massive World War II victory parade alongside Russian president who also attended that event, Vladimir Putin. The visit marks the 65th anniversary of the 1961 Sino-North Korea Treaty of Friendship. The treaty was about cooperation and mutual assistance in defense, and that defense pact is still in force up to date. This is something that I reckon quite a number of people globally really don't know about it. Yes, let me just reinforce this again. China and North Korea had a treaty that was signed in 1961. It was a treaty on friendship, cooperation, mutual assistance, and mutual defense pact. And that pact is still in force up to now. Xi's trip is his first overseas outing of 2026, so to speak. This ideally signals high priority that it gives to North Korea. He arrived with his wife, Peng Liyuan, accompanied by top Beijing officials, including China's foreign minister, Wang Yi, and defense minister as well, Dong Jun, as well as the trade and commerce minister, Honorable Wang Wentao. North Korea rolled out the full pomp for welcoming Chinese president. It also saw Kim and Ri Sol-ju greeted the panel at Hunan Airport when Xi plane touched down. There was indeed pomp and military band, national anthem, children's bouquet, honor guards, review and grand welcome at Kim Square with cavalry escorts, chanting crowds, balloons, and dual flags lining the streets of Pyongyang. This indeed was a royal, grandiose welcome for a visiting leader like Xi Jinping. Before landing, let me just take you up to speed. Before landing, Xi published an editorial piece calling relations at a new historical starting point. In Pyongyang, he pledged unwavering support for Kim's leadership and the DPRK socialist course. China will not waver in safeguarding common interests, sovereignty, security, and development for North Korea. That is one of the key pointers on the editorial piece Chinese president wrote on the journal. Some of the key topicals the Chinese president pointed out was strategic coordination and cooperation, opposed hegemony, authoritarianism. This many a times Xi Jinping normally referred this to US, an attempt to revive militarism, pointing ideally to Japan. He also called upon on his statement to promote fair multilateralism and inclusive globalization. Xi Jinping called for deeper exchange in diplomacy, military, law enforcement, agriculture, trade, technology, and construction with North Korea. We all know ideally that Kim and Xi message is normally ironclad friendship, no matter how the international situation evolves. So the question is this: why the timing? Why now? The timing could never have been better. North Korea relationship with Russia has transformed since 2022. Pyongyang supplies artillery, missiles, including Hwasong-2 used in Ukraine war, and reportedly troops also to Moscow, earning North Korea billions and advanced military tech as well in return that Russia do as technological transfer. This has reduced Kim reliance so much to China, and it's good to remember China once provided up to 95% of its trade revenue. That has significantly changed as Kim tried to diversify his dependency on Beijing. Something else we've analyzed: Beijing wants to reassert its influence and prevent Pyongyang tilting too much or too far towards Moscow. A stronger, more emboldened North Korea with Russia tech could certainly disrupt regional balance of power, something China doesn't want unchecked. North Korea has been flexing his muscles, so to speak. Not long ago in 2026, they launched multiple missile tests with new AI-guided cruise missiles. A new weapon-grade nuclear materials factory was also launched, with a plan to also manufacture a 10,000-ton destroyer. This certainly has rattled Chinese leader, so to speak, he goes low on his diplomacy with North Korean president. For Xi Jinping, Chinese president, this visit counters US alliances, that of South Korea, Japan, Australia. Xi is trying to manage Trump-era dynamics and positioning China as the indispensable player on the peninsula. Speculation includes as well economic incentives for Pyongyang and resumed tourism, border projects like the Yalu River Bridge enhancement, and possibly discussing a Trump-Kim path, which we are seeing not likely, considering North Korean president has already said nuclear talks with North Korea, their nuclear is the red line and it's non-negotiable. The visit of Chinese President to North Korea gives South Korea hopes for a constructive role as well in peninsular stability. So moving forward, what can we really expect? There's certainly going to be concrete deals on trade, people-to-people exchange, that is Air China flights resuming as early as possible, and investment also from China. China may offer economic lifeline to pull Kim closer than it now is with Russia, with strategic alignment against hegemony. This will be fronted by China. However, Beijing military tech sharing remains a red line, if so to speak. Those are some of the key takeaways that certainly we've analyzed and we are likely to see moving forward. And something that is quite interesting, his visit to North Korea comes fresh from hosting Trump and Putin. Just shows he holds cards on North Korea. The risk, however, remains, as an overconfident Kim could provoke escalation and economic openings, hence calling for sanctions also from the West. But one thing remains very clear as the sky. In geopolitics, no visit is routine, especially this one for Xi traveling to Pyongyang. Not the other way around, however. So this seems that China's stake for this visit is very high. It's trying to manage its volatility of an ally in the name of North Korea while projecting its strength amid great power play competition. That is, competition between North Korea, Russia, North Korea, China. And North Korea also remains as a strategic buffer zone for China between Japan, South Korea, and others who are at power play and power competition with China. The game, however, is far from over. In this visit, about friendship, leverage, or both, we are likely to see more at stake. Thank you very much for listening to this key analysis. If you are new on this channel, kindly like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for deep dive into diplomacy that shapes our world. Thank you very much. Diplomacia, bridging Africa and global diplomacy.